Hello, welcome back to Conscious Evolution. My name is Alan. Thank you for joining me here today. I just wanted to jump on here and just kind of touch base with you guys, man. I haven't really been doing much content. I've been super busy. I've been working, 70 hours a week, which I'm super grateful for because with this whole quarantine thing and social distancing and whatever all the nonsense is. I'm really grateful that I was only off of work for the short period of time I was. Um, and when I was off, I had my kids for an entire week, which was fantastic. And then the other week, I was, making videos with other YouTubers around the world, and I had all these things scheduled, and then I went back to work, and all that went out to the wayside. So now it's just what direction do I take my channel in now? I've been making videos for over a year, put well over 200 videos up last year, and documented my experience. And my experience is basically I've said everything that I've wanted to say. You know, and now do I continue going with just the growth of me as an individual because ultimately I want to touch the lives of other people. I want to help you grow and expand in consciousness and in your humanness, and your human experience. I want you to have the best experience you can. I want you to share your story, because everyone sharing their story is going to affect somebody else. It's going to plant that seed and help someone else grow or confirm something to someone else that they aren't crazy when they start awakening, as we're living in some really interesting times right now. So more people the better. But anyways, I just wanted to give you guys an update, and I really not sure what direction I want to take my channel. I think I want to focus more on healing and personal development. As I'm going along, I'm working on creating some programs. um, I really want to do a program about my morning routine because I'm really for the time I was laid off of work, I really just kind of, was a little bit depressed. I didn't have direction. I didn't know what I wanted to do for like 3 days, and then my higher self just like dropped this download on me, like, "Eh, you got so much to do. You were unemployed for like 8 months last year, and you traveled the country. You did everything you wanted to do, and you were able to do it without a job, without any income. And I did it because of you guys and all of your support. It's still, I'm so humbled, and it just blows me away. And I'm so grateful to have you guys as followers. And this is a small channel, so I like things as a tight knit little community that we have here. Um, but back to business. I am reorganizing the Patreon. It's going to be just really for either you want to help donate and support the channel. I'm going to have a tier for $5 for that, and then the other two are just going to be healing sessions. So if you want to book a distance healing session, that's one way to do it. Another way is to contact me directly. Unfortunately, I had to let go of my website. I could not afford the domain. I took a domain from $40 to $1,200 in a year's time. So I wasn't going to renew that because it just wasn't worth it. I didn't believe it or not, I had a lot of traffic on my website, but I did not book a single healing session through there. Not one. Everybody just contacted me directly. So we're just going to stick with that, and we're going to figure out a new way to get this out there. If you know anyone that's in need of some healing frequencies, then send them to my channel or send them my information. All my emails are below. All that also means that contact at consciousevolution.love is no longer a valid email. Instead of going back and changing all that stuff on all my videos, I'm just going to say that now. I'll put it in the description box below as well. But my personal email is fine. You can always email me at ajtaylor408@gmail.com. All right, so there's something I wanted to show you real quick. Let me see if I can figure this out. There we go. Look at this. This was all of my travels from last year, from 2019. I was traveling. How cool is that? You know, there's one thing about Google and constantly tracking you with your GPS and everything. This is one cool thing. I'm generally against it, and I get irritated when you leave a restaurant and it immediately pops up on your Google thing. How was your experience at such and such place? Like, you know, every time I leave work, I get, how was your experience at this dealership? Like, yeah, I just spent 13 hours there. It was pretty good, I guess. Thank you for asking. Um, so yeah, look at this. Isn't this crazy? So I went out to California 3 times last year. So in April of 2019, I flew out to Palm Springs, California, and got certified to become a reconnective healing practitioner. And spent about a week out there, and I flew back to Maryland. And then about a month later, I flew back to California and spent a week in Long Beach. We got a place on the beach. I was out there with Africa. You guys been following me for a while. You remember that whole experience. And then I came back, and then I flew out to Indiana, but I stopped. I flew to Chicago to their airport, and had a layover to go to Indianapolis airport, where I met up with Bonesy for the first time, and that was last summer. And then I drove up to Gosha, or however you say it, Indiana, and I did. Um, I basically started a job as a non-CDL truck driver, thinking I would be able to travel the country and get paid to do it, to like drive out to California and do all these, but it didn't work out the way I had anticipated, and it was much more difficult and needed, you know, if I had like $2,000 at that time, which I didn't because I was broke and unemployed, um, I could have made it work, you know. Well, I could make it work now because I have a vehicle that you can pull. Basically, if you do that job, if you're gonna like do non-CDL stuff, you have to have a car that you can pull behind the truck that you're driving to deliver. So when I got there, I got, you know, all the license stuff, training done, and then I took a box truck from there to Philadelphia. But I didn't have a car, so I had to get a hotel room, and I had to take an Uber down to York, Pennsylvania, where my brother picked me up. So $75 for the room, $120 for the Uber. That was the entire profit of that trip, of that, you know, I think it was 11 or 12-hour trip, and I made 200 bucks minus, no, I made 250 bucks minus gas, so I made 200 bucks. So basically, I made 20 bucks by the time I got home. So it just, you know, wasn't worth it. But now it might be something to think about. You always have options. You always have options. But no, I'm really happy where I'm at right now. Working insane hours, but I really do enjoy what I'm doing, and I'm really touching people's lives and planting seeds more like on an individual basis, you know, one on one, because I meet and talk to probably over 80 people a month on average. So, and it's wild how the universe brings people to you. There are no coincidences, you know. The people that I've met, people that are local here in this little town that I live in, people that travel from all over to come, and then, you know, they're into like energy healing and crystals and tarot or whatever. Like, there's no coincidences. People are drawn to, that they got me as their salesperson out of anybody there. No coincidences. All right, so back to my travels. I just kind of wanted to show you guys, because I didn't talk about all of my travels on my channel last year, but I was all over the place. So okay, I'm in Philly, went back home, and then from there I made the decision. Oh, hold on, let's back up. So before I went to California and Palm Springs to get certified, I went to upstate New York where I met Case Parts, most of you know as Everyday Masters, and got my reconnection done. That was in March of 2019. I don't want to do that. Get back over here. So that was March. Went to there, and then April, and this was in June or something. Anyways, so 2 trips there. All right, so that's about the time I got back from doing the truck thing, thinking I was going to be able to drive out to California with that. That was about the time I made the decision to move out to California, and I sold everything I owned, which wasn't much, but I sold my car. I sold all my silver. I had a lot of silver, and I sold all my guns and all the accessories for my guns. I had purchased several firearms um, during that time before I really got into my spiritual awakening because I was fearing the end of the world. Um, so I was getting prepared for that. So I sold all my stuff, condensed my life to a backpack and a suitcase, and I bought a plane ticket to Cincinnati. Went over to Ohio, flew in here, and Ed and Sherry picked me up, and we stayed in Cincinnati. Africa flew from LA to Cincinnati. We met at the airport and drove to Ed and Sherry's house, and they live in basically downtown Ohio. So we stayed there for a couple days. That was July 4th of 2019. And from there, we drove to this place called Wolf Creek, Indiana. Or the place was called, I don't know what the place in Indiana is called, but the resort we went to was, it wasn't a resort. The place we went to was Wolf Creek. And I made a couple videos about that too. But we were creating a retreat that I am still hoping we can figure out and create and do again soon, because I really enjoyed that, and I think it'd be good for a lot of people. I'll probably start out with small groups, and anyways, off getting off track. So yeah, we went there. We spent the 4th of July, which was like a Thursday. So we did Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday out in this Wolf Creek habitat, which was like a rehabilitation center for wolves, which was really cool. But it was like pretty primitive camping. We had cabins. They had electricity, but there was no running water, no plumbing. So yeah, it was a profound experience though, the things that we did, and it was really like a self-empowerment retreat, like the Tony Robbins retreats. And you go and walk on fire, do these team building exercises, or self-empowerment. It was basically like that on a more intimate scale, and we created it all, and it was awesome. So when we get that up and running, I will definitely let you know and strongly encourage. It'll be a limited list of people that we can have though, because it's just gonna have to start that way until we can grow. Um, so yeah, then we did that weekend, which the finale, the last night we were there, we walked on fire. So we it was a whole ceremony. We created and built this fire. We stacked the wood up. We put all our intentions and all the things we wanted to transmute and put into the fire. Um, and we set that intention and we set the fire, let it burn down the coals, and then we put the coals in the like created a bed of coals that we walked on it 3 times. That's It was wild. So when that trip was over, we went back, and then Africa and I flew back out to LAX in Los Angeles, where we then drove up to Lake Arrowhead, California, where we were renting a house. And I think I spent about 4 or 5 weeks out there, and was a really amazing experience. It was a beautiful place. There was a lot of different things that we explored, that I explored. Um, and that's where I ended up having to purchase a vehicle because, I sold my car and needed a car. So luckily, I was able to purchase a car. So I had to buy a brand new Jeep, and didn't have a job, didn't have income, didn't have proof of income or pay stubs. So it was fun. With a extremely high car payment now, but it's all good. Everything happens for a reason, and everything is always working out for me. I truly believe that, and it just gets reflected in my reality. So I spent a couple weeks there, and then that's when I started my vision quest, where I went from there to Phoenix. I spent 2 nights in Phoenix. It was kind of cool. One night I just went into downtown Phoenix, like the club zone where all the bars and strip clubs and everything were. It was a pretty cool place. Fucking hot, but it was a cool place. I ended up figuring out how to rent like one of those Uber scooters or whatever they are, Lyft scooters, and I just rode around the entire city for like an hour. It cost like $30. It was so cool. I had a great time. Um, and that's when I kind of figured out what I wanted my trip to be. What I want to do. I didn't know what I was gonna do, and then I set the intention that I wanted to see some energy vortexes of the planet. So I went up here to Sedona. Let's see if we can get in there a little bit. There we go. So yeah, I was all over California. There's LA. Long Beach was the one trip I took, and this is where I was staying at, and this is where the Palm Desert Resort was, where the Reconnective Healing Training was at. So we actually weren't far from that. So when I left, I drove through Palm Springs, and I started to go off the exit to go back there. Then I remembered there's literally nothing there except for desert, windmills, and then there's the town of Palm Springs, which is beautiful, but I didn't have money for Palm Springs. So then I traveled. I guess these are markers. A few times I stopped for gas or eat, and then I got into Phoenix, Arizona, and stayed there for 2 nights. I was supposed to meet Derek Burrows from Global Witness, but his schedule wasn't able to do that, so we weren't able to link up, unfortunately. But we've been in communication, so I support what he does. And I was actually on his channel a couple of weeks back. I was just, got off of work. I was sitting here just like falling asleep, and I decided to go on to Zoom and check out his YouTube live, and he just pulled me up in video and all, and had a conversation. I was like so caught off guard. It was funny, but it was awesome. So the several subscribers I got from that, I'm glad you saw it. Thank you for joining us. I hope you're still watching this video, because this is a great story. I really want to make it into like a video, like a documentary of my whole thing. But it's just, I want to do a lot of things. So then I went up here. This is a Sedona area. And I stayed there for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. And that's where I met the Rahilio and the two girls that were from New York, mother and daughter that were out there. And we did the Mystic tour with Rahilio, and then did a sweat lodge with him at his house that night. And so that was my second offering in transmutation and, um, you know, transformation by fire. You get reformed, refined. That's the word I was looking for. Refined by fire twice. Walked on fire and did the sweat lodge. And both of them were intense experiences. So I stayed out there, found my channel. I got a couple videos of the hikes I took out there. And then from there, I wanted to go to Colorado, but that didn't, I was on a limited budget just by your guys' donations. Literally, I was only able to do this because your guys' donations. I mean, how awesome is that? I was so blessed. So I stopped in Albuquerque. It's funny, when I was a kid, my dad used to always say something about Albuquerque. And I just thought it was like a place on a cartoon. No, it's right there. There's Albuquerque in New Mexico. So drove through there. I think I stayed because the first day I drove, I stopped a lot, and then I just stayed somewhere in there. And then I drove. These are all the stops I made, and then I stayed in Oklahoma City. Matter of fact, I just found the receipt for that the other day when I was going through the stuff, because I just moved into this new apartment. Um, it's an old busted place, but it's mine and I love it. But I spent the night in a room there as a king size bed with a smoking room for $40. No like security deposit. It was awesome. And then from here, we started going up north a little bit. It was going to Bonesies, and I was just booking it from this point. I traveled 2 days. Oh, for 3 days. It took me 3 days to get to Sedona to Bonesies, driving all day every day. I got a hotel room one night. I slept in my car the other nights, and then I finally got up to Indianapolis, or to Indiana, because Bonesies right up in this area, in a place called Anderson, Indiana. And when we were there, I was only there for a few days. Bonesies' house was like under renovation, so I was basically sleeping uh, outside. It was fun, but he's got a beautiful home, beautiful wife Kim. I love those guys. They were so accommodating. They took me right in. You know, it was the second time I'd been there, so I went and visited them twice and spent a couple days with them last year. It was beautiful, and then we all met up when we went to Wolf Creek. Him and his wife Kim came there, and Bonesy's been talking to me about how his wife's now going through the awakening experience a little bit more. And I was like, it's only a matter of time. You can only be around this energy for so long before it starts having an effect on you. Like everyone I work with is starting to have an effect, whether it's adverse, because it's like my energy can either like activate your demons or help you transmute them. That's really the only two ways that happens when you spend a lot of time around someone with energy like mine. And I'm always doing energy work. So yeah, I spent time up there, and then I drove to Cincinnati and stayed at Ed and Sherry's again. So my journey started there. Flew from Maryland to Cincinnati and stayed there, and then went to Indiana, back to Cincinnati, and then to LA. And then on my way back, I made a full circle and stayed in Cincinnati, where I was broke. I had no money. I was trying to sell my stuff, and I think I stayed a little over 2 weeks. And there's this thing in Cincinnati that is called Riverfest. It's right on the Cincinnati and Kentucky border. So we went on the Kentucky side of the river, where you could see Cincinnati. You could see the Bengals stadium, or not the Bengals, the baseball team, whatever it is, the Reds or something. I don't know. But it was beautiful, and they have a fireworks show. So we got there. It was 4th of July, and we went in like a parking lot and saw some fireworks. It was, it was okay. It was a neat experience, but This was a whole different experience. This was like, full out show. Like that was their 4th of July. Riverfest is their 4th of July. And there's like, you know, hundreds of thousands of people there. It was really awesome. Um, it was really awesome. Thank you, Ed, for that experience. Thank you, Ed and Sherry, Bonesy and Kim for taking me in, sheltering me, feeding me, loving me. I love you guys. I hope to see you guys again soon. Um, yeah, so we were all over Cincinnati. Like I said, I spent some time there, getting my life together and getting some money together. And then I didn't know where I was gonna call it. I was just gonna go home from that point because I was tired. I didn't have any money, and then we got the thought to go to not North, to Asheville, North Carolina. And who do I know in Northville? Why do I keep saying that? Who do I know in Asheville, North Carolina? Brian Divisions. So I hit him up, and he didn't respond for like a day or two, and I was literally like the next morning in Cincinnati. I was planning on going home back to Maryland, and he hit me up. He's like, "Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Come on through." So I made the trip down here. Went, drove straight through, straight to Asheville, and went to Brian's house. Met him and his girlfriend Jenny, both awesome, beautiful people. I love and support them fully. Like they both like, Brian Divisions. He's a conscious rapper. He makes amazing music. Got me back into music, and that's all I listen to now is like that feel good kind of music. I don't care if it's rap or reggae or country. If you got a good message in your music, I'll listen to it. And I've found a lot of really good artists that aren't well known. Maybe are in this community, but I don't know. So yeah, I went and spent like 2 days, 3 days there. After the first night at Brian's, I didn't really have anywhere to go, so I slept in like Walmart parking lot, and then I did. I forget what it's called, but I met somebody and did a like a light frequency thing because that's what Ed and Sherry do. So I went there and seeing how this guy had it, his setup, because he had the same thing, and so anyways, I did that, and then I drove home. I drove straight back to Maryland, and when I got there, I unpacked all my clothes, washed all my clothes, and unpacked my car and slept for like 14 hours straight. um, the next day, I got a call from Jessica. It's about Divine Time, who I had been talking to across this whole Vision Quest throughout, the cross country trip that I took. I oh, how do I do this? I just saw her or was talking to her, and she was doing card readings for me and like channel messages from spirit, and it was good. It was someone to talk to help me through the times I was going through, as well as Kat Young, one of the subscribers, and one of the people I've done a lot of healing work with, was also really supportive, and um, helped me through a lot of things that were triggering me as I was going, because this whole trip was a vision quest. You know what I mean? It was a lot of things coming to the surface to be dealt with, to be looked at and transmuted, and it took a long time to get through a lot of these things, because I was really hurt on a deep level. You know what I mean? Um, but I wasn't taking it personal after a certain point, but I wasn't able to like get past it. You know what I mean? I was just like, I was blocking it out and moving on and moving forward because I had to do that in order to keep moving. But as the trip progressed, more and more of those emotions just started coming out of me, and I started feeling them intensely. And I was getting angry, I was getting upset, I was feeling all of it, feeling it all. It was just like an emotional purge, and I had to just sit with that and deal with it. And I ended up talking to Africa again after that, and when I was in Cincinnati, we talked a lot, and kind of got over all the BS of what had happened, and you know, we're on cordial terms. We don't really speak, but I wish her the best in her endeavors and her PhD studies in women's spirituality. So I'll definitely support that. Support anything with anybody's spiritual growth. Always, always. And then so I went back to Maryland, and then Jessica from It's About Divine Time. I think she changed her name, her channel, but she hit me up, and she was having a toxic situation at her house, and asked if I could come pick her up and just get her out of there. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I thought my trip was over, but it wasn't. It continued for about another 2 months, which was great because that was a whole nother experience. So I drove the next day. I drove straight to Florida, straight down to this little area right here. Can't remember what it's called, but I drove all the way down there, picked up Jessica, and then we traveled back up. We stayed. We got a couple hotels because it was a long trip, but we were going to back to Asheville, North Carolina, because that's where I wanted to go. And once we got there, I mean, the synchronicities on the whole trip down were just amazing. My phone got shut off because I couldn't pay it, and I was able to call them, and they gave me an extension for like 2 days, so I was able to keep using the GPS to get down there. And then once I got to her, she had a phone. We just used her phone, so I didn't have a phone for about 3 weeks, maybe a month, and it was fantastic. It really was. It was really freeing. Like it, I was still able to make videos and use like the internet out in the mountains to post videos, but I had no phone calls, no text messages, no emails really. Um, it was great. It was really a really zen, peaceful experience. But yeah, we traveled up and we stayed in North Carolina, in Nashville area, Weaverville, to be specific. But it was through a weird series of synchronicities and coincidences, which I don't believe in coincidences, that Bonesy, who lives in Indiana, knew one of his friends from Indiana that was had a place in North Carolina, that knew this other guy that's also into the spiritual, world, this whatever you want to call it. um, and that Bonesy had been talking to this guy who was Mark. And Bonesy was like, you really got to meet this guy. He's like, we just clicked, like, how me and Bonesy clicked right away when we started talking, like Bonesy and this guy clicked. So I was like, well, all right, I'll go meet him. So I drove out one day and met him, and we went on a hike back in the woods and got to know him a little bit. And then come to find out that they were on a property to where the owner of the property was had several Airbnbs, and everything just kind of worked out, and everything just fell into place. Everything just fell into place perfectly. It was amazing, super, super amazing. So we ended up staying in a hotel for a few nights, and the last night we stayed at the hotel, our hotel room was 111, which was perfect. And it was a ghetto room, but whatever. It was 111. Like, how perfect is that? So then that's when I met Mark, went on the walk, and decided to go stay there. We got some Airbnbs, and then after a while, we ended up just putting a tent up in the middle of the field. Basically, they cut down the spot in the field for us, and I had a massive tent, I had an air mattress. We were good to go, and we spent weeks out there living in the mountains, um, camping, basically, and it was a really good experience. You know, you had everything you needed there. There was an outdoor kitchen. I mean, you guys seen we did like tarot readings and live shows there. But it was awesome. And then after that, we came back here to Maryland, and then she continued her trip on to California, and she had her own vision quest. So again, I hope she's doing well. Wish her the best with her and her endeavors and her channel. Um, I think everybody went through a really intense experience last year, and that may have been in preparation for what's going on this year. I don't know. Well, I do know, actually, for a fact that everything in our lives is training for what's to come in the future. Everything you've done in your life up until this point is to prepare you for what is happening now and what is going to happen and continue happening unless we all get together and have this massive love revolution, and the general consensus of the collective consciousness is not yet where it needs to be to really change things yet, but it is growing rapidly, especially right now. People are really starting to question things, and if that's one thing I can give to anybody is to question everything, question the answers you get to what you're questioning. You know, don't just take whatever someone says. Fact check things, look into things, do your own research. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just watch the news and listen to what they say because they're telling you a narrative. Have you ever seen the YouTube videos where the news stations from like multiple different cities around the country are all literally saying the same exact thing? It's a script. It's a narrative. That's all I'm going to say about that. Anyways, I just thought it was cool. I popped up on my Google timeline. I got an email and seen all my travels, so I thought I'd come on real quick and share that with you guys. That ended up being like 40-minute conversation. That's all right. I love you guys. Be the change that you want to see in this world. And if you want to do any healing work, I'm really getting back into it. I'm becoming more active with that. I'm going to start offering the distance healing sessions a lot more. I'm going to start promoting locally for in-person sessions. So if you're in Carroll County or Baltimore, Maryland, or Pennsylvania and the Hanover, York, Lancaster area, all the surrounding areas, like, if you're within a few hours from me, then hit me up. You can come to me. We can meet somewhere. We can figure it out. But I did 2 in-person healing sessions last night, and it was really awesome. It really reminded me how much I love doing in-person sessions. Distance sessions are awesome too, but the in-person sessions are just way cooler, man. You get to see the registers, people's eyelids are fluttering, like it's awesome. And then hearing the stories, um, people seeing the colors and hearing things and being touched by spirit, like, it's amazing. Anyways, I love you guys. Be the change that you want to see in this world, and I'll be back soon.